There's finally a rift happening in the truest love in American history. That between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Look at this love, dude. Just a few months ago, these two were about to kiss. And as of today, the bromance might be doomed. America's sweetheart couple might be finally breaking it off. Remember back in February? I love real Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man. Direct quote from Elon Musk. They were hugging. They were at rallies together. They were having a great time. They were gonna take on the world, okay? Donald Trump was gonna get the economy moving again, and Elon Musk was gonna cut spending so that America could afford it. The combination of the tariff revenue and the tax cuts and the Doge cuts, we're gonna get America back on fiscal track. And then, just 4 months into Doge, Elon Musk was basically shown the door. Thank you, but time to go. He was basically sent packing. Now, part of this could have been his own decision, as his own companies were dealing with more and more struggle. Part of this could be disagreements internally. Again, it's worth noting he showed up to this final meeting with a black eye and bruising on his face. He says it's because his kid punched him in the face, but there's reports from Steve Bannon that Elon Musk got in a physical altercation with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent over the Treasury, over the spending. I mean, there's some real theory here that something's going on. It's black eye and bruising. So anyway, they gave him a golden key and said, come back anytime. But Elon Musk walked away wearing his Doge father outfit. And that was that. And Elon Musk was separating from the government back to his own job. But it didn't take long after being shown the door that he started commenting on the government, specifically on the big, beautiful bill that Trump has been laser focused on pushing, as much as focused as Trump could be. Trump has been pushing to get this massive tax cut and spending cut bill, the big, beautiful bill, through the House and through Congress. And finally, Elon Musk, after hinting at it for a little while and voicing some slight discomfort, finally today out and out said it. He called the bill, I just want to be clear, I want to get the words right. He called the bill a disgusting abomination. Specifically, I'm sorry, but I can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. And I responded somewhere with a handshake emoji because I agree. You know, Elon Musk, it took you a long fucking time to say anything. This is the bill you were supporting 1 week ago, but he did finally say it. This bill is horrendous. This bill massively blows out our already massively blown out deficit. It leaves us, anyone young and anyone in the future, with even more problems and even less money to go around for the government. We're gonna have more and more interest payments to pay for tax cuts for rich people right now. It's a horrendous bill. You know, Elon Musk has done a lot of damage providing cloud cover for the bill and supporting the bill, but now that he's out, I guess he's willing to say it, which I respect, because as someone who has pissed off like all of the left side of America, he is now risking pissing off all the right side of America and being left with, I guess I respect the ability to say it. For this particularly, especially because Trump has been so supportive of it, it is a pretty big line to draw from Elon's side. Now, he'll say, and I think everyone that has criticized this bill will say, that even though Trump is nonstop supporting it, that it's not Trump's fault. Trump doesn't know the bad stuff in the bill. Everyone will say that Trump doesn't know what he's doing, but we have to stop it. And in fact, it's the evil rhinos in Congress that are writing it, and they want to let him off the hook. But he continued. So Elon Musk continued. It was like, Congress is making America bankrupt, and it will massively increase the already gigantic budget deficit at $2.5 trillion and burden American citizens with crushingly unsustainable debt. And I'm sorry, this is just true. As I've mentioned, I read a lot of Substacks from, and at least probably over half of them are from like Wall Street finance Republicans. Or like, not even Wall Street, but like people who are like investors, or they know this shit. They're in and out this shit, and they were like supportive of some kind of changing agenda. They at least had some ideological, non-ideological reason for giving Trump a chance. All of them, almost all of them have slowly but surely been like, had to admit all these economic decisions are terrible. Like all of them. Dude, it's so funny. Like one by one, they've all written some sort of op-ed being like, yeah, doesn't make any sense. doesn't add up. And this bill has been a real unifier for at least that crowd of like, no, there's just like one guy specifically, it stuck out to me where he basically said, I thought they would be able to get a handle on the spending. It turns out they're going to go full steam ahead until they hit the wall, until nobody in the world will buy American debt anymore. They're going to spin off the rails. And that is what it's looking like. So Elon Musk is calling this out. Worth mentioning, James Chanos, one of those guys, I don't know if he's Republican, but he's a longtime finance guy, well-read thinker, pointed out this is the same bill when he was praising it last week. Very worth noting that Elon Musk has only started talking about this after he was kicked out. And by the way, they're forcing this through with 0 Democratic votes, is my understanding. So they need most Republicans, almost every Republican, to vote for it. And there's a few holdouts. One of them is Rand Paul, who is like the most vocal and fiscally conservative against this from the beginning, well before Elon spoke out.
Senator, what do you need to see in this bill to be on board?
The problem is it's asking conservatives like myself to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion. That's historic. No one's ever raised the debt ceiling that much. It will be a record for Congress to raise the debt $5 trillion. But also it indicates that this year the deficit will be over $2 trillion, but it means they're anticipating close to $3 trillion for the next year. It's really a slap in the face at those of us who are excited about Elon Musk and Doge and all the cuts. Where are the cuts? If the cuts are real, why are we going to borrow $5 trillion? So what I proposed was this. I put forward a proposal, and we voted on it, to raise the debt ceiling for 3 months. If the promises are real, I'll vote to raise it every 3 months. So I put forward that amendment. Unfortunately, I only got a handful of votes, but I think that's the way to do it. If you raise it $5 trillion for 2 years, you just put it on the back burner, but we're going to coast through that money, and we're going to spend it all, and that's not what the people want. That's not what our supporters want.
All right.
Yeah, so I don't like the 3-month debt ceiling bill. It's going to be insane chaos that gets nothing done for our already fucking stymied system. But I do agree that a $5 trillion raise, the most massive raise we've ever had, to support primarily wealthy tax cuts is insane. It's just insane. It's just not what we need to be doing when we are already spending such a huge chunk of every dollar we raise on interest on our previous debt. He spoke out against it, and then also Ron Johnson spoke out against it.
What's beautiful, Senator, as you see it, and what makes you cover your eyes?
Well, this is my third column in a series of 3, where I've been pointing out since the first of the year that we need to return to a reasonable pre-pandemic level spending. And I laid out the options. I think this was an extraordinary event, the pandemic. We went from $4.4 trillion in spending to $7 trillion this year. That's a 58% increase. There's no justification for that. So we have to return to a reasonable pre-pandemic level. I've laid out options somewhere between 5.5 and at most $6.5 trillion, which would imply a whole lot more savings than the meager $1.5 trillion over 10 years, $150 billion at most. By the way, and then we're increasing spending by $342 billion over 4 years. So again, the savings we're talking about in relationship to the $89 trillion we'll be spending over the next 10 years, it's barely a rounding error. But at a minimum, we shouldn't be increasing the deficit. And I don't see any scenario that they're discussing right now where we don't actually increase the deficit over 10 years.
I just want to say I appreciate both these people saying this because it is at least not lying to my face. It is really annoying, as I've been watching these clips, to have someone like Speaker of the House Mike Johnson come out on a clip and just tell me this doesn't increase the deficit. To just tell me that it does, like, you can just read it. We just know that it does do that. And by the way, as someone who was critical of this during Biden's administration, when again, we were spending $1 trillion of deficit every 100 days in 2024 into the election, we are now spending more than that. Trump has taken that insane 24 deficit and gone up. We're just going towards the wall. And so I appreciate at least these two voices on the Republican side who are getting a lot of pressure from Trump and their constituents to silence themselves, speaking out and saying this makes no sense for what we ran on, for any sort of like fiscal conservatism. That led to this, which was a tweet from Donald J. Trump saying Rand Paul has very little understanding of the big beautiful bill, especially the tremendous growth that is coming. He loves voting no on everything. He thinks it's good politics, but it's not. The BBB is a big winner. 14 hours ago, Trump said, again, Rand votes no on everything, but never has any practical conservative ideas. His ideas are crazy, losers. The people of Kentucky can't stand him. This is a big growth bill. But he hasn't commented on Ron Johnson or Elon, both standing up against saying this bill is a extremely damaging. This does mean that there's going to be a rift, I think, in the sort of MAGA right and tech right handshake alliance that existed primarily through Elon Musk being the bridge. I wonder what like the All In podcast is going to say now that their two greatest heroes, Trump and Elon, disagree. I wonder how they're going to handle this big, beautiful bill. The girls are indeed fighting. And I just can't stress enough how much I think this bill sucks ass. Very, very simply, it is like massive tax cuts. Half of that is funded by cutting Medicaid for poor people. And then the other half is just not funded. That's the deficit. This much savings through cutting healthcare, and then huge more spending from cutting taxes. And the difference is we borrow it. It's easy to hate the rich, but do you have the courage to hate the poor? That is fire. The answer is yes. Every chatter or commenter I've ever crashed out on. I've hated many poor people. Imagine saving the government $100 billion for them to increase spending by $5 trillion. Yeah, I mean, that $100 billion is even exaggerated, but you know, it's very obvious. I don't know if Elon wasn't aware of this. It seems obvious that he would be, but maybe he's that clueless that the Doge thing was a song and dance show to give cloud cover to do these massive tax cuts and spending increases. Doge was not ever taken seriously. It was not real, and they weren't ever going to actually cut anything real. And so all they did was cut some ideological stuff for chump change and made no real impact on actual spending. And again, it was only supposed to last a year, and it only lasted 4 months. They cut both the leaders by the first 4 months. It's a failure on every front. And at least Elon is stepping up, because a few days ago he said,
it's not like I agree with everything the administration does. So it's like we have differences of opinion. I don't want to, speak up against the administration, but I also don't want to take responsibility for everything the administration is doing. It's not like.
What a change of heart, dude, from just a few months ago. So I thought this was what he was gonna do. I thought this was his position. I thought he was gonna be like kind of slinking off into the sunset and like licking his wounds and going back to the companies and not talking shit on anything. But after this, I guess he changed his mind, had some ketamine, woke the fuck up and spoke out and said, yeah, this bill sucks. So at least respect that, because I thought he was gonna do this. I thought this was gonna be his. This is only like a day or two before. We'll see what the long-term repercussions are. I wonder how Trump will respond when asked about it by tomorrow. My greatest hope is that somehow this Elon thing breaks the support for the bill and it doesn't make it through the Senate and it gets stopped. That would be awesome. What do you think Scott Bessent's stance on the big beautiful bill though? Almost everybody who worked with Scott Bessent prior to him joining the Trump administration says really good things about him. He's a very smart guy. I've listened to his speeches before he was part of this administration. Very smart guy. Why we have to get spending under control, clearly articulated paths that America could do that. In the administration, he has really just repeated what Trump says verbatim. Now, I don't know if that's what you have to do to get any influence in there, but it's hard to know what he's thinking because all he does is trot out on TV and say exactly what the party line is. Now, my understanding is that he, behind the scenes, has done some things to walk back the tariffs, has done some things to reduce some of the most insane chaos, has done some things to try and calm the bond market so that we don't have a banking crisis. But he also might have punched Elon in the face, which is pretty cool. But I really can't give a thumbs up or thumbs down to Scott Bessent so far until something happens. And right now, again, I'm thinking of one of these finance substacks I was reading, but he was like, listen, I've worked with Scott Bessent. He's a smart guy, but right now it looks like he's driving the country towards a cliff. And Scott Bessent, again, is one of the people that'll walk out and be like, well, this bill is going to reduce the deficit. And it's like, it's just not. Wasn't it better with the two options? Yes, I don't, not like it mattered. It wasn't like Trump was listening to my stream. But I like campaigned a bit for Scott Bessent because the other option was Howard Lutnick, who is a used car salesman level of grift and stupid. How can your message of reducing spending be marketable for political normies? How would you convince people that reducing spending is the biggest line items, is the good thing when going to specifics? Yeah, I've been thinking about this. This is my main argument. Let me see if I can make it real simple. So we know that the main things that the government spends money on are Medicare, Medicaid, basically healthcare for old people and poor people, Social Security, which is money for old people, military, interest payments, and one more thing, subscriptions! Subscriptions make up 85% of the government budget. That's why we need Rocket Money. Thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring this clip. Rocket Money is an app that you link your bank account to, and it shows you every recurring subscription that you have that's being siphoned out of your account. Whether it's a gym you signed up for that you forgot to go to, whether it's a news website you signed up for, whether it's a Netflix or Hulu or anything. Any subscription where it's recurring taking money out of your account, it flags it for you, it shows you, and you can easily one-click cancel it right from the app. Rocket Money's been a long-time partner of me, Marketing Monday, my content. I appreciate the support. It's an app I've actually used for years since it was called Truebill. It also has an incredible budget management feature where you can set aside money to plan for something upcoming you want to spend. It categorizes your spending. It's basically the best all-in-one finance app, especially for people in a modern digital economy, millennials, Gen Z. Like it's useful, and I highly recommend it. I want to thank Rocket Money for sponsoring this clip. And if the American government just opened Rocket Money and cut some of our useless spending, we could get towards balance. Now, the actual answer to your question is this. Of these four, you can't do anything about this one, and cutting Medicaid especially is pretty cruel in any way. So here's what you can do. One thing you might know, actually, Social Security, won't even cut that. Let's look at these two specifically, Medicare and military. Now, what's unique about these is that they take government tax money and then go through very, 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 very price gouging middlemen. Medicare goes to drug companies and military goes to like military contractors. These companies have an incentive to overcharge as much as humanly possible, to milk us dry, not in the good way. So you have, like, for example, like a Northrop Grumman, or you have a Pfizer in the middle here who is, just charging absurd amounts overpriced. Again, Americans pay more for prescription drugs, significantly more than every other nation on earth. And we do the same with military contractors, finding a way to increase the government's negotiating power. Like, for example, in Medicare, we're legally not allowed to negotiate. We should be allowed to negotiate to drive the prices down. Or internal capabilities, in the case of the military, would be a way to massively cut the amount we are spending here to get even the same results, but for way, way, way less money. So these are the two areas I'd focus on first and foremost. I think this would be the primary areas. If I was trying to do like a Doge type thing, and this is a big thorny problem and you're fighting entrenched interests, but this is what you have to tackle. To make any real difference, I would look at these two primarily. Then I think it's worth saying that Social Security right now is only delivered on the basis of age. So Social Security goes to old people regardless of their financial situation. The truth is, Social Security should probably only go to those who are under a certain income. It should be means tested. The idea is that it's a safety net retirement program for old people. If you are a wealthy old person, you should not be getting Social Security benefits. I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense. We already have a lot of wealth concentrated in the elderly. And the fact that a lot of us are paying taxes to distribute even more to the elderly is crazy. Now, obviously, if someone is poor and elderly, then of course, Social Security should not be cut for them. Additionally, easy thing you can do, if you're looking only to balance the budget, not to cut spending, is you can raise the Social Security cap, which says that you don't get taxed on it for above 50K of income. Somebody very wealthy pays the same amount in Social Security that someone very poor does. Someone like Jeff Bezos or Elon should be paying more in Social Security, obviously. Now, it's politically unpalatable. It's like impossible to get passed because they vote in great numbers, but that would be the ideal if you're trying to get towards balance. Try to find what should we actually be spending money on that is worthwhile and useful. And then finally, it's worth noting that I am now officially a television news pundit because they put my ass on MSNBC today. I got texted about this by like 14 people. Worried about economic policy for the White House and have guided the president to enact stiff tariffs on all foreign goods. Is this a good idea? Yes, it's absolutely brilliant. That's it. They just threw in a big A clip about me talking about ChatGPT glazing on MSNBC. This happened today. It's awesome. It says youtube.com/atriotclips. Anyway, my lawyers will be in touch. They stole my shit. Me and Adish don't appreciate getting our content stolen without compensation. I demand $1 million in reparations.